we're getting into this branding game. It's a lot of fun to be able to play in this space. And, you got to see everything go down with Oasis and then watch it play out for your brand. That had to be a really cool experience for you.
One of the things that's exciting about our mission and being part of this organization is the resources and power and the investment behind that. And, watching the Oasis brand come to life, watching Hank embrace that, it's been fun to watch. It's been a real pleasure.
Welcome into the Independent Thinking Podcast. This is your host, Rob Stott. We have, I feel like the last couple of episodes here, we've had the opportunity to talk about some news on the podcast and continuing that streak of sorts in breaking news fashion. We've got Chris Whitley, our Executive Director of Commercial Integration here at Nationwide Marketing Group. Chris started not too long after, maybe right around prime time in Dallas, and has been working in the background and pulling together an awesome, business plan and strategy for what's going to become our commercial group here at Nationwide Marketing Group. And the news that we're breaking with Chris here on this episode is the brand itself. The title, as you can read, sort of gives it away, but Ellipsys Commercial Technology Group is the new commercial integration brand here within Nationwide Marketing Group that'll be led by Chris. And just a really passionate guy, clearly, not only just knowledgeable about the space and what he's doing, but just has it in his heart and in his mind, what he wants to accomplish with Ellipsys and, with this brand that we're standing up here at Nationwide. And cool to hear him, lay it all out and give the take on what he wants to do, where he's trying to play in this commercial space. And it's one that if you're not familiar, our residential integrators, the guys that are in homes, building home theater systems and networking homes and that sort of thing, it's really just on the commercial side, guys that are in conference rooms or, hotels and other commercial structures and networking and building collaboration platforms and the ability to, network those conference rooms and things like that. And, it's a space that, Nationwide and our CI team have decided this is where we need to play. And Chris is the guy that was charged with leading that effort. And he is really hitting the ground running here with Ellipsys and the brand itself and ready to go to market. So it's exciting to get him as we get set and that team gets set to be at InfoComm this week as we're dropping this episode. Excited to get him to sit down and detail sort of his plans and what he has moving forward. So lots to dive into and want to allow him to share that story. So let's dive into it. This is Chris Whitley here on the Independent Thinking Podcast. All right, we are back on the Independent Thinking Podcast and real excited why, I say that all the time and I feel like I say that all the time, but it's not often we have a situation where we can kind of almost break news on a podcast. And that's what we get to do at Nationwide Marketing Group here on our Independent Thinking Podcast this week. And it's with Chris Whitley, our Executive Director for Commercial Integration here at Nationwide. And if that doesn't give it away, I don't know what does. Chris, first of all, thanks for joining. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Rob. Thanks for having me. Really looking forward to this. Although, full transparency, a little nervous. First podcast I've done in a while.
Oh man, you don't know how many times that's been said on this podcast too. So don't worry, you're not the first, and you won't be the last. It'll be. We're gonna have some fun, and we got to dive into your background. But before we do that, I want to start right up front with the news. And anyone reading the headline, it kind of gives it away. But let's share this news: the launch of Ellipsys, which is our new commercial integration brand here at Nationwide Marketing Group. Tell us about it, man. It's a big deal. A lot going on for you. So tell us a little bit about the brand, kind of, the path to getting here and what we have to look forward to.
Sure. Okay, cool. Great. Yeah. As you mentioned, Rob, we finally have come up with our name for this initiative. We've been working on it for a while, Ellipsys Commercial Technology Group. The group is built for members, similar to our sister organizations, Ozion and Oasis. And it's built to provide a platform for our members to connect, collaborate, and transform their businesses.
No, that's awesome. It's a kind of a unique moment because, like you said, it joins a group of custom integration brands here at Nationwide that, alongside Ozione and the recently rebranded Oasis. So we're getting into this branding game. It's a lot of fun to be able to play in this space. And, you started a couple months ago, so you got to see everything go down with Oasis and then watch it play out for your brand. That had to be a really cool experience for you.
It was a cool experience. One of the things that's exciting about our mission and being part of this organization is the resources and power and the investment behind that. And watching the Oasis brand come to life. In previous life when I did that, I didn't really have those resources. So it's nice to tie that back in. And the Oasis brand really coming to life, and watching Hank embrace that. It's been fun to watch. It's been a real pleasure.
That's awesome. Well, a lot to unpack with the brand itself and kind of what the plan is. But before we do that, why you? Well, tell us a little bit about you and sort of, I know Andy was real excited to get you on board. What's your background like? Well, why were you tabbed to be, the head of this commercial group here at Nationwide?
Sure. Why was I the lucky pick?
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
I don't know, lucky or unlucky, depending on your
exactly.
point of view. What is it?
We'll see a year from now, right? No, totally love it. Little background about myself. Originally, CPA by trade, did a lot of work in mergers and acquisition and construction, and came into the industry back in 2000. And started a buying group similar to what we're doing now back then, and ran that for 20 some years, and transitioned from that, sat in an integrator for a little while and ran their sales department, so I have some integration background as well. And back in that time when we were operating that group, Andy Orozco, who is leading our entire CI team, as you know, he was with an organization, and we tried to kind of bring this commercial, residential groups together, the one that I had and he had, and it didn't quite work out so well. Timing, I think, was a little early. Andy reached out to me a few months ago and, said, we're building this. Your name has come up. Would you be interested? And, 2 months of hard work and a lot of information back and forth. And we've come up with a plan. And I think we have a great platform and, a good niche to serve emerging, growing members, and really looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, the funny thing, you mentioned that timing. I'm just now thinking about all of the things in the industry that have gone on just the last year or so, and how the timing is it is perfect now. If you think about it, I mean, CEDIA Expo just last year announced that they were going to be having a commercial portion of their show that we'll see this September, kind of co-locating there. And, we're on the heels. Well, I say on the heels, we're a few days ahead of, as we're sitting here talking. And when this episode drops, of InfoComm, which I know is a big event in this space. And just, kind of we'll get into it in a little bit, but the proliferation of the resimercial term and sort of what that's done in this industry and space. It's I think you hit the nail on the head. Go figure. But that the timing is right now with all of what we've heard of in the industry around commercial business.
Yeah, I agree. One of the things you mentioned, what's happened over the past years, let's say 4, right? Because we had COVID, and then that seems to continue to keep lasting, and then supply challenges and everything. So all those things still exist, obviously. But the thing that's most exciting to me about the industry is during that time, we had wide adoption of our technology, and not only between individual remote work, but just corporations as well. I like to tell a funny story. I've been doing this stuff for 25 years. It wasn't until COVID that my daughter came in and said, "Hey, have you ever seen this Zoom technology?" I'm like, "Yeah, go figure." Yeah, I've seen it a lot, right? So what's exciting is now people have embraced it. I mean, many did before, but it's mainstay, right? It's like commonplace. You ask for a meeting, are there remote workers? So the embrace of the technology and growing the emerging market of the industry itself and our members, it's really exciting times, I think. Challenging, of course, but I like to say I'm not the one who said it. It was a great leader at one point in time, but there's always opportunity in chaos.
For sure. No, it makes a lot of sense. And, unique to see sort of how businesses in commercial real estate, where a lot of this technology that, your soon to become members will play, what they're doing to upgrade those spaces and make it better. And in some cases, whether it's be able to collaborate with those remote workers, or I mean, even entice people to come back to the office, right? I'm sure that has a lot to do with it right now for sure too, because people have over these last few years have really upgraded their own home offices. So trying to get them to come back is a different story.
For sure, for sure. I like to, if I could just go on the
For sure.
collaboration piece you mentioned, one of the things that's interesting, I mean, we're in the business of providing collaboration technology for people, right?
Right.
But we provide that for all of our customers, and then we think about it internally. And, that's one of the differentiators for us, and that, pillar and philosophy of our brand, the connect,
Yeah.
collaborate, transform. We'll connect your people within our industry to other people that are doing like things. It's always best to learn and experience things from your peers that have the same pain points. And then also that, that deep collaboration, we're providing you the opportunity to collaborate, but on your business also, not just necessarily use the tools to collaborate. So I like to take everything that we're doing and trying to sell, well, we ought to translate that back into our own business and principles.
No, and it kind of meshes perfectly, and it's unique to see. And you've built a really cool story, and it's one that I know that's a little bit different. I want to give you the chance too. You mentioned in sort of talking about your own background, how you have experience, you've done this before. So what about Ellipsys is going to be different, or how's the approach different, sort of to what you're doing in setting up this commercial group? From past experience.
Sure, sure. Well, I started this originally wanting to kind of give back and build a community. So some things may not be that much different, Rob, than before, because
Sure.
The magic is bringing the people together. However, there are some differences. Obviously, our focus is on growing and emerging companies, so maybe aren't as large or have been around as long, that have all their processes and business services in place. So for me, that's the exciting differentiator. It's the larger organization and ecosystem that we have with the sister entities of Oasis and Ozione, as well as then the nationwide umbrella. I have resources, investment, and there's some, fabulous business services that the organization can provide. So I think we're providing a larger ecosystem. Not only that, the experience of the group, if you look at our CI team alone, collectively we've got over, probably 200 years of experience.
Wow.
When you add them all onto the team.
Well, to be fair, there's more members, so we're not breaking this down by 3 people. Y'all don't have like 60 years of experience. So.
No. 25.
There's a large team.
25 by 6, 7 people.
I just don't want you to date and feel like you're dating yourself here, aging yourself.
People know my age. It's okay, Rob. But but it's that overall power, and we've got a larger organization, and with res commercial, that more guys going to commercial, and quite honestly, some commercial guys have ventured to the residential as they try to diversify their business and grow. So I think having all that under one roof, and the power of the management team and the expertise, cross-pollination, you can always learn more with a larger base. We're much more powerful as a group.
Yeah.
So I think the size and nature of our organization being larger with all the other components, a huge value for us, and I think will be a differentiator moving forward.
Oh, that's awesome. A lot of terms, we're kind of sitting here talking. We both know what we're talking about here in sort of this commercial CI space and what's going on. I want to give you the chance, step back a little bit to the other listeners of the podcast that they aren't familiar with commercial integration and what that means. Tell sort of set the stage for what a typical Ellipsys member, what kind of business are they doing? If anyone's familiar with, sort of what HTSN, now Oasis, is and continues to support from, that member side, it's the guys that go in their homes and build the home theaters, that sort of thing. What is it? How is it different, on the commercial side, and sort of, I guess, paint a broad picture of what a commercial CI integrator does?
Sure. Okay. So, first of all, commercial, many different verticals. There's like retail, hospitality, healthcare. But in large, from a traditional AV integration perspective, most of those integrators are putting in conference room technologies for people to collaborate just like we are today. So a typical integrator would be, the difference is you're doing B2B It's a business to business transaction versus a business to a homeowner. But in terms of the system, some ways they're not that different. You're connecting a home, you're sending signals, you're trying to tie in multiple devices. Same sort of thing with commercial. Those guys are bringing in a sub network that, creates a video conferencing capability or other things, to tie into a business's overall communication strategy and platform. So our traditional integrators are identifying needs for people where they need to have remote workers or conference technology, generally conference technology. There's larger things too. You have K-12 education, large scale arenas, multi-purpose rooms, training rooms. But a lot of this, what the world's adopting we need conference technology in every little room that we have that's more than 3 people. And that's the majority of the business, right? Sure. Is providing that technology for people to expand. So
well, then and that kind of gets to
was what I meant to say there.
Yeah, no, you're good. And it gets to I think what the next question is that we've heard a lot of the blending of this commercial and we hear the term resi-mercial that's come out of this, right? So the blending of commercial and residential and visible through the things that CD has done to launch a concurrent show in this fall, and things like that. And so how does that, I guess, factor into sort of what you guys are doing or what you'll be doing, with this group, or I guess even just the industry in general? Is there a lot more of that, like you mentioned, blending from residential to commercial to residential, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I don't have all the statistics and market, but I would assume there's probably more from residential to commercial than the other way. But I certainly do know of some large resident or commercial guys that have migrated. I think it's more the groups that are now the 50-50, 60-40, or have done some commercial work to begin with that are now saying, hey, I've got some capabilities, skill sets in-house. I'd like to develop that as a core competency of my own. So I think that was one of the things that excite me. I can help people, those integrators, do that. But also focus on, our pure goal is not necessarily to bring all those guys along. It's to help them, and obviously, provide benefit back to our larger organization. But it's really to build that practice for true commercial guys, purposely, to help them bring in all these business services and, go down the river and learn from people that have experienced things they maybe haven't, that they're experiencing now, right? Like,
no, makes a lot of sense.
This thing I'm struggling with, what have you done? Oh, I went through that 3 years ago. Let me tell you, let me save you some time, right? So building it for that, but there is some natural benefit, and why the appeal of the large organization for those guys that have a core competency already, but aren't focusing on that because right now they're living on primarily the residential side where they started.
Gotcha. I don't know if it's even like a single thing that you could put a finger on, but is there, you talk about traditional commercial and traditional residential. Is there like a distinction, or like one thing you could put your finger on that's like, this is why they're different? Or is it just sort of really where they play and like that percentage split to you?
I would say two distinctions, if you want to really get. One is really the life cycle of a project. So it's real the life cycle of a residential project. Once the consumer decides to buy, we're off, is probably very quick. They've decided, they do some research, they contract, and then they probably want it done yesterday, right? So do commercial customers once they decide on something. But the life cycle of a project can be sometimes a year, 2 years. It's a longer development cycle, so you need different sales process and different project management process. It's not necessarily that it's more complex, but imagine a commercial job that might have 500 rooms. They might all be the same room, but it's 500 rooms. You need process, people, project management to accomplish that goal, to execute on that deployment. It's not necessarily a different skill set, but it's just a different marketplace and a different end user experience that makes the worlds different. From a technology standpoint, I think technicians from both sides, programmers are magical all the way around. I think they they can cross over. Seems like a
No,
natural.
I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of, I think, brings an appreciation to, I have to imagine it, and I don't want to throw Michael Jordan's name around there, but you think about the transition he tried to make from basketball to baseball and how difficult it was. I feel like, it's probably similar, like a residential or commercial guy that tries to flip and go the other way. And, knowing that there's some that have been successful, a good number that have been, right? Able to operate in both the commercial and residential world, but it kind of brings a certain level of appreciation to those that have been able to realize that.
So you hit the nail on the head this time, Rob, right? There is, having experience on the commercial side, we generally didn't want to do residential work. And so we had residential partners. Doesn't mean there's not a handful of people that want to do both. Again, I think that's the power of our group. If you are a purely commercial guy, but you come across some residential people, I mean, we all want to help each other out, right? So there's resources now in the organization to go both ways on that. So I think it's huge power. Yep.
Yeah, it's all well. Last question. I mean, it kind of has permeated the whole discussion, and you've mentioned the term excitement a number of times. But if you kind of narrow it down to a thing or two that you can think of, just what excites you about the opportunity to launch this Ellipsys brand, within the nationwide group, and it could be from the member side, the vendor side, everything you'll be working on. Kind of what's it boiled down to for you?
Yeah. I guess I'm going to go kind of personal. I'll share a little bit, just so because a lot of people that know me know this. I came from a really small family. I'm an only child, and so are both my parents.
Oh, wow.
So community and family, which is what we're also creating here. We're creating a culture and a community. That's what I have the most passion about, because it's what our philosophy is, our purpose for our members. And I like to be part of a larger community and give back, and ties in also to just our corporate give back to the community. Those are what excite me, because if we do all the things right, we're going to accomplish that and really create a powerful community here. So that's the excitement and passion for me.
Oh, that's awesome, man. It's cool to hear. And I know, you're barely like a few months, 1/4 of a year into doing this thing. And to see that excitement is pretty
little
cool.
less.
So. Yeah, you're getting there, right?
Yep.
It's happening. But no, it's cool to see sort of that passion play through. I know we all recognize it, and we're excited to see sort of where you can take it. And like I said, we're only talking ahead of InfoComm. I'm excited to see kind of what comes out of it. We've got a few weeks and really, it is a few weeks, right? I almost wanted to say a few months, but it feels like just a few weeks until CEDIA rolls around, and another big coming out party for the group. So lots to be excited about with Ellipsys, and it's a story obviously we'll continue to follow. But appreciate you sharing that story here on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But as you said, we're on the heels of InfoComm. We'll be there, have a lot of vendor meetings, and looking forward to that. And thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Wasn't too bad.
Yeah, see that? I'm easy going. What can I tell you? No, we'll be sure to follow up too, man. Because it's like I said, it's a story we'll want to continue to shout from the rooftops about, shout from the rooftop of commercial buildings about, as we continue to follow your work and success. So looking forward to it.
Cool. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And thanks again to Chris. Like I said, just a fun conversation. Not only, being able to dive into the residential and commercial integration spaces and the differences, similarities, that sort of thing, but really just the Ellipsys brand in general, and his plans for the connect, collaborate, and transform, and just how that's playing out. The story of the brand is playing out, and he's got it. It seems like he's got it all figured out. You don't want to say everything's perfect. It's always a work in progress, and the business and how he attacks the industry will continue to evolve. But man, it's cool to hear his passion and his plan of attack for this space. So appreciate him taking that time and sitting down with us and sharing that story. And as always, appreciate you listening to the Independent Thinking Podcast, and we'll catch you next time.